Today we finish our journey around the Ring of Kerry and head to the Dingle Peninsula, where we'll visit a gorgeous beach, head on into Dingletown where we'll spend the night, and then visit Ireland's most charming village. And you'll want to know the critical mistake we made in Dingle.
Our road trip to Dingle began after 2 p.m. after we returned from Valentia Island and from the Skelligs.
We drove to the N70, which is the Ring of Kerry, and between Carsavine and Glen Bay, we stopped for coffee at Golden's of Kells, which is a little coffee shop. They've actually been family-owned since 1776. I was in desperate need of coffee, and we also wanted some kind of sweet treat. I had a Bakewell tart, which we had seen before but had not tried. And that's actually a pastry crust that's baked first, then it's slathered with raspberry jam, and then it's topped with frangipan, which is an almond pastry cream. And then it's either glazed with icing or sprinkled with powdered sugar, or icing sugar as they would call it in Ireland. And it was delicious.
I agree. I vote for the Bakewell tart.
And you had something different though. What did you have?
I had a nut bar.
It looked really tasty too.
It was, but I like the Bakewell much better. At this time, we're still on the Ring of Kerry. At Castlemaine, we head west on the Dingle Peninsula towards Inch Beach. We had heard of Inch Beach, and we were going right by the entrance to it, and so we decided we would stop. The beach was virtually empty, except for a few cars, and it was kind of a dreary day, but there was enough sunlight coming through that it just gave it a really special appearance.
It was magical. It was kind of dark and moody.
Windy.
You could see the mountains in the background and the water in the foreground, and it was stunning.
It's a great place to stop and stretch our legs.
So we got back on the road, and at Anaskull we got on the N86. And before long we hit the Analack Viewpoint, and that was just west of Inch Beach. And Analack Viewpoint was amazing. Well worth your stop if you're on that road. So this is the Analack Viewpoint in County Kerry. I think we have the 50 Shades of Green all just in this one spot. It's beautiful on the Dingle Peninsula. So we hit the road again, and about 15 minutes down the road was Dingletown. It was a Friday night. It was very busy in Dingle. It was rainy and kind of dreary looking, very windy. So we decided we'd check into our accommodation first, and we didn't have any trouble finding our accommodation. It was about a 5-minute walk from the center of town, and it was the Alpine Guesthouse and Bed and Breakfast. It had everything we were looking for, actually. It had a great location. It had free parking and free Wi-Fi. We had reserved a double room, and it actually ended up being a triple. We had a double bed, and there was also a twin bed in the room as well. Large bathroom, very large room. Might have even been the largest room we had.
Possibly, at this point.
In this trip. But it was very nice. It had full breakfast included the next morning, and it had what we thought was a reasonable price for Ireland. It was $160 or about 138 euros.
I love the place. The only drawback for some people might be quite a few stairs to get to some of the rooms on the second. And was there a third floor as well?
I think there might have been a third floor. And I don't know that they had an elevator. They may have.
They may have.
We didn't ask. We carried our luggage upstairs. But it was very homey feeling, very comfortable. The staff was very nice. A nice change from like a hotel. It was much more personal, I think, than a hotel would have been.
So we were a little tired and in need of a pint somewhere. So we were in search of a pub, and we walked by Dick Max, and I think the other one might be Johnny Fox.
I think
Fox's, so. I don't recall. But we decided to go into McCarthy's, or McCarty's. And this pub is the oldest family-owned pub in Dingle, dating back to 1867. The people in there were great, a couple of people in particular.
Yep, it was very much a locals place.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a touristy place. The couple that came in and sat down next to us
were actually from Cork.
Cork, I believe.
They were Irish natives, but they came there because it's not known for being a tourist bar, and had been there before a number of times. In fact, I believe her family name was originally McCarty. They were a young couple who were fairly recently married. Donica and Aoife were their names, and we had a wide-ranging conversation with them.
One of the best we've had on a trip.
Yes.
We really enjoyed their company.
He was in the Irish Navy, and they showed us some of their wedding pictures, and they were Beamish drinkers, being from Cork. And one of the wedding pictures they showed us showed a vignette that was heart-shaped, and in the middle of the heart were them toasting with Beamish glasses, which I thought was very cute.
They were great fun, and a special shout out to Donica and Aoife.
Yes, they had a Chicago connection. They had been to Chicago, and I believe Aoife had a relative who had been on the Chicago Fire Department at one time. And she was really excited because they filmed Chicago Fire there. And so we kind of had a connection there. One of Chris's golf partners is a regular extra on the Chicago Fire and PD series. So they thought that was really interesting.
Good conversation point.
It was, but we talked about everything from Irish pronunciation and spelling. I told Aoife that if I die and go down instead of up, that I will spend all of eternity in an Irish spelling bee. And she was saying, yes, Aoife was a name that had almost every vowel and only one consonant. So after spending a very enjoyable time with Aoife and Donica, we decided we probably should eat something since we'd been at the pub for a while. And this is where we discovered we had made a critical error. I neglected to make a dinner reservation in Dingle on a Friday night. Now, Dingle is a very busy tourist town. They have some wonderful restaurants, but we could not get into a restaurant that night. It was at least a 2-hour wait to get into any good restaurant. So we ended up at a place called the Diner, which when we went in, it had kind of a comfy pub type setting, but they were full. And the host told us, oh, but we have seating upstairs. And so they took us upstairs.
And it was very quiet.
There was hardly anyone there. Not exactly what we were looking for, but we had no one to blame but ourselves. Right. So we did have food. I'm pretty sure I had fish and chips, but I won't swear to it.
There was nothing wrong with the service or the pricing
or the food.
It
was fine.
It was fine.
And in fact, on YouTube, we found a video where someone had reviewed the diner, and we will link that below because we want to give them a fair shake. So,
oh, yeah. After dining, we headed out, and it was still raining, of course, and we thought about stepping out somewhere else, but with the rain, everyone was indoors, and so it was really tough to get inside. And so we headed back to the Alpine. And we stopped at a gas station convenience store to get out of the rain.
So while we were in there, we decided it was a good opportunity to peruse Irish snack foods, since they had a ton of them. And I did select some to take back to the room with me. I had had Tato's before, of course, the cheese and onion, very popular. But I saw a flavor that I had not seen before, and that was prawn cocktail Tato's. And I did try them later, and they were delicious.
They were all right.
Yeah, they tasted like a shrimp cocktail.
A little bit.
They were quite tasty. But I did find something that absolutely stole my heart, and that was Jaffa cakes.
You and your sweets.
I know. I love sweets. Jaffa cakes are little round sponge cakes that are topped with an orange jelly and dipped in chocolate, and they are delicious. That was my dessert, for sure. So we did head back to the B&B. I had my little nightcap of Jaffa cakes, and we headed to bed for the night.
So the next morning, as we said, breakfast was included at the Alpine Guesthouse. And so we went down. It was quite a busy little dining area.
It was. They had quite a few. They had some tour buses in that were staying there. And
on this trip to Ireland, I had decided to try different things instead of just the full Irish and things like that for breakfast. So I got the smoked salmon with eggs and some really good bread. And I don't recall what you had.
I think I might have had French toast.
Okay. I decided to take a couple of suitcases out to the car in preparation to leave, and the weather was still bad. It was rainy, very, very windy and foggy, and we were looking out towards Slayhead Drive.
Yes, thinking about doing that. Or Connor Pass.
And the fog had rolled in, and it made us wonder. We were discussing whether we should go or not. So today we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. The wind is quite blustery. The gusts are coming in pretty strong, as you can probably hear. And we don't know if we're going to get socked in by rain. It's hard to tell, but we'll see if we're going to go to Connor Pass or maybe Slayhead today before we head off to Limerick. We're still up in the air on this one. I was convinced when I came back in from outside and talked to a tour guide, and he had a small group with him, and their day had been planned to go to Slayhead and Connor Pass. And he said that they were socked in. So he convinced me that we should probably not do that and head on our way from there.
So we are driving, we're headed toward Tralee. We were looking at Connor Pass or Slayhead Drive today, but between the high winds and the fog socked in today, I don't think we're going to see anything either of those places. So we're just going to go ahead and head over toward Tralee and try to see Adare before we get to Limerick today.
So instead, we headed toward Tralee. Just past the village of Camp, we were looking out the window, and I happened to see this. It looked like an old aqueduct out my window, and I was filming. And it wasn't until we got back home and started searching to see what that was that we actually found that that was the old bridge over the Finglas River. There were some great pictures online, and I'll post them here, where you can see both the new bridge, which is arched, and the old bridge, which is an arched stone bridge of that area. And that's so it goes by really quickly, but it's a beautiful area. Mm-hmm. And we thought it was very picturesque. Before long, we saw something that we really were surprised at. It was a sign pointing to a windmill. And so we followed the signs and kind of headed off the path to the Blennerville Windmill. And that is a restored 18th century windmill. And you can tour it. They have a shop there that has Irish crafts. And they have a small museum there. It's very reasonably priced. I think it's €5 to €6 a person to get in. We did not go inside. We just kind of walked around the outside and shot some pictures. I've seen some beautiful pictures of it that were taken at dark because they light it up at night. We thought that was a very unusual place to find a windmill.
I would think so. So next we skirted by Tralee, and we stopped at Listowel to get our bearings and decide our next leg. And we headed down the R523 and headed for the N21 at Reens.
And at that point, we crossed into County Limerick.
And about that time, it was time for us to feed again. And we stopped at a little place called Foley's at the Pike. And it was a great little pub.
It was very traditional looking.
Right. Very nice little place, and the food was great.
They had some really funny signs there.
Many truths in some of those signs.
Very true. But it was a very cozy pub. That would be a great place to go in the evening, I think.
Yes.
So we got back on the road after lunch and headed to what is arguably the prettiest town in Ireland.
If you're enjoying this video and finding it the least bit helpful, hit that subscribe button on your lower right corner. It's free, and it really helps our channel grow.
And if you're already one of the tribe, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up or make a comment down below, and it helps us share our content with other viewers.
So what is considered the prettiest village in Ireland? The village of Adare. We pulled into Adare and it was very busy. There was one large wedding that looked very nice, lots of tourists, and parking was hard to come by, but we did find it.
You did. You did a great job finding good parking right on the main street, right in the middle of everything. Adare is a designated heritage town, and it is one of the most popular wedding spots and one of the most popular tourist attractions in Ireland. It was originally built around the Desmond Castle on the River Mag in the 1200s. Now, the original village was destroyed in wars in the 1500s. The current village was planned and rebuilt by the Earl of Dunraven in the early 1800s. He built a manor house, which is now Adare Manor Hotel and Golf Resort.
And I had previously heard of Adare Manor and Golf Resort. It was the site of the 2007 and 2008 Irish Open, and it will host the 2027 Ryder Cup. That would be great fun.
That Adare is quite a golf place in Ireland. There, I guess, are close to 20 golf courses around the area.
I didn't get to see one of them.
No. Golf is on our next trip.
Oh, yes, it is.
In 2022, Adare had about 1,200 residents. There are a lot of tours that go there, and the town is also accessible by bus. So if you're in Dublin or Galway, you can actually get a bus there to Adare, so you don't have to miss out. Also from Limerick. They have a Tudor-style town hall, which was very beautiful, and they host a country market every Saturday from 11 to 5. You can still see the ruins of the old castle on the River Mag, and a number of old religious sites. But the star of the show is we would call them thatch roof, the Irish call them thatch roof, cottages. So it's Saturday afternoon about 2 o'clock in Adare, and Adare is really busy. Lots of cars. Chris found a great place to park though, right on the main drag. And we're going to take a look at the thatched cottages. They were originally built as housing for the workers on the Earl's estate and have been maintained. Now, some of them are commercial businesses now, some of them are self-catered accommodations like Airbnbs, and some of them are still private residences. We did see that a number of them were under repair and reconstruction, but they were very charming. It was just beautiful. I was speechless seeing them. It looks like a fairy tale, like where Snow White would live.
You were smiling for several hours.
I was. I absolutely loved Adare. They also have a lovely town park, which has a thatch roof shelter or kind of a bandstand in the middle. They have an archway that's covered with roses. And it was nice because it was a very peaceful, serene setting in the middle of all the tourism craziness. So if you're in Adare and you need to get away from all the crowd and the tourists, take a walk through the park because it's very relaxing, very beautiful.
They have a Reuseable Cup Initiative in the works, and it's part of the Tidy Town plan. You can buy for $2, I believe, over the price of your drink, buy your cup, and it's reusable. When you come back, you bring it in or anywhere.
Anywhere that has the service.
Bring the cup back, exchange it, they'll give you a clean one or new one, and then you leave with that. So it's aimed at creating less waste, of course, styrofoam and cups and paper cups and such.
Yes.
Plastic.
Now, if you are out and you only need it for that day, you don't need it after that, you can return it to a place that has the program and they will refund your $2. That's just considered a deposit on the cup. They were getting ready to roll it out, so we saw signs for it. And we have mentioned in our videos before that Ireland tries to be very environmentally conscious. Before leaving Adare, I was in need of coffee again. I'm sorry. I run on coffee like a car runs on gasoline, okay? Or petrol. And I was dying to see what the inside of some of these thatch roof cottages looked like. So I stopped at a local restaurant, the Blue Door restaurant, to see if they would sell me a cup of coffee to go. And so I headed inside and took a look around, did some filming, and they said, sure, we'd be happy to sell you a cup of coffee to go. They were not doing the cup initiative yet, so I did not get the opportunity to buy a reusable cup, or I would have it here and would show it to you.
Right.
So on our next trip,
Yes.
I'm going to buy a reusable cup so we can show you. It was a very charming space. I did notice when I was looking up the stairs that because of the slant of the roof, the ceilings were really low on the second floor, and kind of like a top floor with dormers in the United States would be. The roof line was low, but it was very beautiful. It had a very great atmosphere, and I loved it. Adare is a wonderful place, and I think it should be on anyone's bucket list that's going to Ireland.
At this point, it was getting later in the afternoon, and so we got back on the road for our final destination of the day. And it's where we would find one of our favorite accommodations in Ireland. And it's in a city that has a reputation for being a little rough around the edges.
To find out where that is, and if it deserves that reputation, be sure and see our next episode.
Until then, check out one of these videos.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on this second half adventure.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Bye-bye.